don't even know where to begin. So, last week I posted a video about how I came to Norway. I think it's very important actually for, if you have not watched it, to watch it first so that you can understand where this story is heading. Because I want to talk about, how it's like to be from another country, to move, especially from a third world country to a first world country, and not just that, but just in general, moving from one country to another. What are some of the challenges and what the journey it has been? Because a lot of people, they have this facade about how it is like in another country, but it's interesting for me to share how it all went down. So now I have landed in Norway, right? There's a lot of things I have to start wondering and worrying. Remember, I never Googled anything about Norway. There's nothing I know about Norway. So I had never checked about the weather or the people, the work, or anything like that. I was trusting the person I was with, and I was trusting that, I was trusting the whole journey, that everything is going to fall into place. But there's something that nobody actually ever told me about, or nobody actually ever talked to anybody about. Even when people move to a different country, there's something they never check with themselves, or they don't bother to think it's going to be a problem. And that is actually about who we are. It's about our identity. It's very few times that you will think about, oh, who am I, right? We don't think about that. What we worry about is the weather, the culture, the people, the society, the job, where am I going to live, which city am I going to live, which is the best place to be, and how am I going to make friends, how am I going to fit in. Those are the things we worry about. But it's something that we forget, and we have nobody actually ever tell us. But it comes as soon as you land in a country that you're moving into. It comes, and that is actually our identity. I'd never ever questioned my identity, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Who am I? So whenever that question is asked to people, I think a lot of people think it's a very deep question, right? Mine didn't even come out of like sitting in a class where I have to be questioned by someone or a therapist asking me. No, mine came as a very, it was supposed to be a very interesting day. I went to a meeting. It was a conference. There were some guys who were doing some projects in Africa. So actually, before I came to Norway, I knew a few people because they had been doing some projects down in Kenya and in Somalia. So I had met a few people before I came. So on this day, I was invited to this conference, and when I attended the conference, I didn't think much, but I was the only woman, and of course I couldn't speak the language, so that was my biggest worry. I was thinking, what am I going to say? But I didn't care so much. Anyway, they had been to Africa. I had met them in the street. We had spoken in English. So anyway, it didn't bother me until we were told to introduce ourselves. Now, that is when the problem came. The first guy stood, I remember, he said, my name is Ula, blah, 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 and I'm an engineer, I've been a professor in the University of Agdabla, and, he gave a whole list of, his achievements, his education, and his family. Oi, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, what am I going to say? I mean, okay, I can say my name, I can say my age, what am I supposed to say? And my head was just thinking about, should I Google this in Norwegian so that I say it in Norwegian, or should I just keep it in English? I was just thinking about that. That was my biggest worry. But then I understood, okay, everyone who was introducing themselves were talking about their career and their achievement and everything. And that's when it's dawned to me that the only thing that I identified myself with was my job. And here I am, the job that I loved very much. I had resigned from it. I didn't have a job. I was no longer with my friends, so I could not identify myself with my friends. I didn't have my family with me. I couldn't identify myself with my family. Like say, oh, I'm the daughter of so-and-so. I mean, they don't know who my father is, even though let's say he was a chief somewhere in Africa. They couldn't care or even get to know who that is. So I was sitting there and I was wondering, what am I going to say to people? I was so confused. And that's after, I remember I stood and I introduced myself. I think my introduction was, my name. And I gave them a piece of advice. I said, I like that you're saying blah, blah, blah. And if you really, really want to do business in Kenya, all you have to do is become friendly, establish a relationship. It's not all about money. And so I was here talking about character and traits that sometimes we need to, for us to be able to do business. Yes, money is important. It's really important for us to think about money, but at the same time, it's also very important to create that bond. And I remember one guy said, yeah, maybe we needed a woman here. I think he said something like that. That of course it's nothing about being a woman. It was something about me not knowing how to identify myself. But I brought up another topic which actually ended up to be a very interesting way of looking at who we are. And he said, oh yeah, we engineers are very practical people, because almost everybody in that room was an engineer. And I can understand, for them numbers matters, so they're very square when it comes to how they're working, and everything matters, because if they miss just one thing, everything can go wrong. Anyway, so much later I went home and I wrote on a book, Who Am I? And I was writing who am I, because I didn't know who I am anymore, because what I knew, what I identified myself with, had been stripped off. And then this is where it comes. I have always asked people who they are. And all the time when I ask people who they are, they always say, oh, that's a deep question, that's a deep question. But the truth is, it's actually not a deep question. It's not. When actually someone asks you who you are, who are you? It's basically a question that is used to ask you what type of a person are you? And that means it has something to do with your traits. It's nothing about what you have achieved, how many degrees you have. Yeah, it's good if you like to identify yourself with that, but who you are has all to do with your traits. But of course, we can go also into science and we talk about our DNA, and we can talk about who we are because of our environment and all that. But I think most of us, we get it wrong when we are thinking about who we are, because I think we identify with our jobs, we identify with ourselves, with our family, with our friends, with our achievements. And I think that's just wrong. I think we should just ask ourselves, who am I when I'm me? When everything else is taken away from me, who am I? So anyway, when you move to a different country, there's always one thing that you have to remember. You will lose your identity for some time. But I'm here to tell you, you shouldn't lose your identity, because the things you have been doing, where you come from, the people that have surrounded you before, they don't identify you. You are not those people. You are not what you did before. You can become what you want. And becoming what you want, I don't mean in terms of career or in terms of achievements. I'm talking in terms of traits, in terms of doing what is best for the world. For example, the type of a person, I can say I'm a patient person, I'm a good person, I'm a kind person, I'm a loving person. That's who I am. It's as simple as that. We can try to complicate it as much as we want and say, oh, I am blah, blah, blah. I've done this and I have a degree in it. Yeah. But imagine if today you can no longer talk because you've got some brain damage or whatever, and you can never practice to be a doctor. Are you going to lose yourself? Are you going to say you're no longer who you are because you are not able to do what you love most? No. You can still be without your brain, or you can still be, but you can still be a kind person. And who we are it's not about just positive things. You can still be that rude person, that jerk that everybody thinks you are. Anyway, my point is this. I think when you move to another country, remember, identifying yourself will become an issue in one way or another. You will find yourself struggling. You will probably not, some people don't give so much thoughts into it, but you will find yourself asking yourself, by the way, who am I? Yeah. And so today I like to identify myself as a person of my character, not as that person who works for a specific company, or the daughter of so-and-so, or a friend to so-and-so, or a wife or a mother to so-and-so, because those things can be taken away from you, but your character cannot be taken away from you. Who you are, how you decide, and how you treat people, what you do for people, how people see you when you're with them, that can't be taken away from you. So I think we can choose, and we can learn to be better people. We can learn to be what we really, really want to be. And I'm not talking about career again. I'm talking about patience, kindness, loving, non-judgmental. We can be all the nice things. And we can also be angry sometimes. We can also be able to show our passion. You can choose. It's all about traits. So, yes, you can worry about the weather, the language, the culture, but identity does come in when you move to another country. And I think after I came to Norway, what I've learned is that I want to be a better person. I want to give the best of me. I want to give the best version of me, because I've understood that anything else doesn't matter. What matters is what I do here and now. I mean, I can stand and tell people, oh, I used to be a good person in my country. I used to do this and this. It doesn't matter. It's here and now. What I do here, it's how people will see me. It's how the society is going to see me. So let's strive to be a better version of us. And that's what makes us who we are. Our DNA, our society, or our environment, our parents, they don't define who we are. Yeah, we can we can say sometimes, oh, I am the way I am because my parents were like this. They were drunkards, they were abusive. Yeah, but you can choose. You can choose to be something different than them. You don't have to always identify yourself with those parents who are beating you up, or those who are alcoholic or drug abuse. Or strive to be a better version of you. Ask yourself, why is it you are not like your sister? Why is it that, or your brother? Because you have all chosen different paths. Despite that you are all brought up by one parent, you went to the same school, you lived in the same place, still there is something that is different, because sometimes we can choose and we can learn to be better people. Yes. And now I am just gonna say thank you for listening.